This constitutes a security hazard.
More Terrahawks toys today. Yes, quite a eclectic range of different Terrahawks toys from my collection. I do not have a full range of them because these original 1980s Bandai Terrahawks toys are quite difficult to get hold of for a reasonable price these days, so I only have a few bits and pieces. I did do a previous Security Hazard mini talking about the large Battlehawk toy, so go and take a look at that if you're interested, but I thought, well, I'd quite like to do some more Terrahawks, so let's just kind of get what I have out and take a look at it, because they're all sorts of... Bandai did quite a few different sort of ranges of Terrahawks toys. They did smaller ones and larger ones and things like that, so yeah, so this is going to kind of touch upon a few of those today in various different forms. I'm going to start with Hawkwing. This specifically is the Hawkwing from the mini die-cast and plastic range, so not the large toys, but the smaller ones, which I think are quite charming. And actually, one of the benefits of having one in packaging like that is you can see the full range of them, which I have to say, I quite like the look of some of them. We do have one example down here. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a hold of a few more of these, honestly. The reason why, normally I don't keep things in their packaging, but because of the value of Terrahawks toys, I felt it might be a good idea to keep this in its packaging, because unfortunately it's in a sort of blister pack where the plastic shell is stuck to the cardboard. So if I took it off, it would ruin it. So sadly, this is staying in its packaging. But if I were to ever get hold of a version of this that wasn't in its packaging, I think I'd be pretty happy, because looking at it, it's quite a nice little toy of Hawkwing. I think it's nicely detailed. You've got a whole canopy on there. You've got wings that fold in and out by the looks of things. Obviously, you have the gun wing, which separates from the main body. I think that's a really nice feature. You have this barrage of missiles that obviously load into the gun wing, and you can fire them. So, yeah, quite a lot going on with such a small toy. Looks like it's got a couple of sort of metal wheels and stuff like that, so it can roll around as well. Yeah, not a bad thing, but not too much I can say about it. Nice to actually have an example of some Terrahawks packaging, though. I love the blue and the art style on the characters and stuff like that around the logo. I think look really, really nice. Yeah, so I think overall nice to have something in its packaging. Yeah, but I wouldn't say no to having this toy out and being able to have a play with it, but not today. We have lots of other Terrahawks toys to play with, including from this range, we also have Spacehawk. Now, Spacehawk's interesting because this is the only toy of Spacehawk that was made. I believe that there were plans to make a larger Spacehawk toy, a lot, in the sort of larger size that we have down here, that would have had more play features, but sadly that wasn't meant to be, and this is the only one we ended up with. And it's fine. I mean, obviously Spacehawk is supposed to be large and quite imposing, so the fact that this tiny little thing that's only a few inches long is the only one we have is a little bit sad, but it's fine. It's got the key features on it, that has to be said, but in terms of play features, the only thing it can actually do, which isn't even really that authentic to the series, is the front can detach like that. I don't know whether that might have been part of the original design for Spacehawk, but I don't recall it ever actually happening in the TV show that the front would detach from the body like that. But nice, I suppose. It's a bit weird, I suppose, that it doesn't sort of fire off. It's just sort of, you just take it out. But yeah, but no, there's some detailing here. There's some panel work and nice big boosters and things like that on there. So yeah, not bad. But I think a nice big large Spacehawk toy would have been good fun. I really like Spacehawk. I know some people don't love the design. They think it's a bit too chaotic, but I love it. I think it's very impressive. And when you look at that original model, it looks superb. So yeah, love it. There's Spacehawk. Sadly kind of a little bit forgotten about, but I quite like it. Next up, we have this curiosity here. This is, believe it or not, supposed to be a battle tank. This is not from the mini diecast range and not from the larger range either. This is a pull back and go, a wind up and go toy. But, I say but, because unfortunately the mechanism on this one is broken. You have the little wind up on the side and it's supposed to wind up the wheels so that you let it go and it will drive along by itself, but sadly not this one. The mechanism has given up and I have tried to open this up to get inside and try and fix it, but I just can't. It's just too robust. It is built like a tank, so sadly this is just going to kind of be static and for display, and to be honest, as a display toy it's not great. Because they've gone for these really weird probably to get the mechanism in, honestly. They've gone for these really weird proportions where it's got this huge chunky kind of base at the bottom, so it ends up looking much taller than it's supposed to and much kind of fatter and chunkier, so it looks a little bit weird. And then it's also quite lacking in detail as well, like the Megazoids on the front, for example, are just lumps sitting on the top. There's nothing more to them than that, which is a bit of a shame. There is a sticker on here, I think, where there's supposed to be guns mounted or something, so, you know, that's all right. It does have flapping about at the top. It does have this sort of, what's the I don't know what the term is, but this frame at the top, which on the other Battlehawk and Battletank toy, you're supposed to be able to hook Battlehawk onto the Battletank to pick it up with that little handle thing. For some reason they decided to carry that over to this one and it just looks a bit odd. Yeah, not one of the better Terrahawks toys, it has to be said, but you know, nevertheless, there it is. So that's fine, that's fair enough. Next up, I think we're going to take a look at Treehawk. This is the large Treehawk toy that they did with lots of different features to it. So let's just kind of run through those really quickly. So right now I have it kind of set up in sort of landing mode. So it has landing legs underneath that you can fold up and put away, like so. This sort of neatly slides up in there so that you get more of a flight mode. You also have these wings, and built into the wings are some missile launchers, which have little buttons underneath, which I am going to press, if I can just get it into position there. Oh, those missiles have gone forever. Yep, so it does have missiles, which, if I can find them, excuse me 1 second, I will try and find those. I found the missiles. They pinged off into the stratosphere. Yeah, so they've got this sort of like arrow pointy bit at the front, which looks kind of weird, but it means that actually when you've got it loaded in there like that, it makes it just that much easier to kind of manipulate them rather than having them be really little missiles. But as you saw, it's quite a powerful firing mechanism, so that's pretty impressive. But yeah, when you take those missiles out, you're then able to fold the wings in, and they have these little wing tips down at the side, which sit neatly inside like that, and then you can fold the wings down and get it into more of a flight mode like that. The other feature on this, which I'm a bit unsure about, is this. The front of it just extends. I'm really not sure what the function of that is supposed to be. I can't remember whether it actually did that in the TV show or not. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, I'm not sure. But, yeah, interesting. But, you know, cool, I suppose. But yeah, that is your Treehawk in a more sort of typical position. And I have to say, I like a lot of the details on this. I wonder whether there are supposed to be more stickers on this, but maybe some of them are dropped off over the years. But you do, like on the front there, have a little Terrahawks logo on the front. No, I like the booster rocket at the back. I think that's really nice. That's been done in a sort of chrome plastic type thing, so that's really shiny and looks great. The wings are plastic, the main body is die-cast metal, and the front is plastic as well. Yeah, overall, pretty nice. I do like this. I think it's a good little Treehawk toy. I mean, considering that Treehawk itself in the TV series doesn't get to do an awful lot. You know, it's pretty nice. I must say, it would have been great if we'd ever got a Hawk Nest playset, which again, I believe they were planning to do one and never got round to it. But a Treehawk, you know, launching out of a folding tree would have just been something really special. So, yeah, I like that as a toy. I like that you can pose it in a sort of landing mode. But that being said, it is a little bit front heavy, so it's quite difficult. It's quite difficult to get it sort of sitting the way you want it to sit. So, you know, you've got to keep that in mind. Now, the last thing here, Terrahawk itself, which is an interesting one in that Terrahawk really doesn't get used on its own very often. It kind of does at the beginning of the series and then it drops off a little bit. I think they kind of lost their way over the course of the TV series figuring out what to do with Terrahawk, which is, you know, funny because it's the name of the whole show. But they did make a toy of it on its own that is obviously completely out of scale with the Battlehawk and things like that. So this is an exclusively just Terrahawk on its own toy. And they you know, did a little bit with it. They tried to sort of match some of the sort of geometry of it from the TV show by having things like these landing legs, which I think are really, really cool. They're surprisingly flexible and easy to manipulate and stuff like that, and it means you can get some really kind of cool bird-like poses with it that I think just look really, really interesting. So you can pose this in a lot of different ways in terms of how you want it landed, you know, just sitting there, what you want to do with it. Then the other thing you can do is obviously you have this large wing on the back that can sort of tilt up and down, and then you've also got these flaps here which can fold in and out. Again, I think pretty well kind of representing the TV show. They don't bend that much, so you don't get a sort of hawk-like kind of thing where the wings kind of close up. They just sort of bend a little bit, so that's, you know, fine, I suppose. They can bend more, actually, but I would just be very careful about doing that because I would worry about snapping the plastic. So you can bend them all the way if you want to, but I prefer not to do that. And then the other thing, of course, it does fire missiles again, and this firing mechanism is really sensitive, so I'm going to be very careful about this. There we go. Just two little buttons on the top, and then these sort of little small missiles here. But yeah, they load in, just sit on top. But boy, oh boy, is that a sensitive thing, and I've just lost another missile down the back of that shelving unit. Yeah, the only other thing to speak of with both of these, actually, is they do have translucent orange plastic to represent the cockpit. And on Treehawk, you do have a little person sitting inside there. Not very detailed at all. But I have to say, Terrahawk doesn't look like there's much in the way of like a cockpit inside there, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, overall, a really varied range of toys, has to be said. They're not always the most well-detailed, they're not always the most screen-accurate, but they do try to get a lot into a small package, it has to be said. So I've got to say, I love Terrahawk's toys. I wish it was easier to get hold of them, because they are really, really nice, but some of the prices you see on eBay for these are absolutely ridiculous. Crazy high. Yeah, so anyway, that's my little Terrahawks vehicle collection. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you'd like to see next. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/securityhazard. Give what you can, only if you can. But that's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Security hazard negative.